Welcome back to Voice Notes from the Organized Homeschool on my morning walk, and wanted to give some more details about kindergarten math with confidence curriculum. I mentioned that we were using this in our summer learning, and it's actually just a continuation from using it over the school year. A mom asked about more details of what I liked about it, what I didn't like, or my thoughts. I thought I would share a few more details about this curriculum since we are pretty much finished with it. We've had a whole year. We stuck with it for the year, and I want to explain why we stuck with it for the year. The first thing I will mention about this curriculum is that it is scaffolded or broken down into bite-sized manageable chunks. For example, the very first lesson it is on just the number one. That's literally the first lesson. And so this curriculum does definitely start from very little to no understanding of the math concepts taught in kindergarten. If your child hasn't had much preschool instruction, just knows a few numbers, or doesn't fully master them at 100%, like every time you say what number is this, they can't say 1 or 2 or all the numbers through 10. And this would be a really good starting point. I like that because that kind of feature, it's not a feature, of the curriculum maintains throughout, even as it gets into more challenging concepts outside of identifying numbers 1 through 10. Even as you get into more complex concepts, it still scaffolds and breaks it down. So we're in the subtraction unit right now, and it's multiple days spent on subtraction. And it just starts with real simple, like, introduction of what is subtraction. And then it gets more complex with each day, and it just keeps adding on to their understanding. So I really appreciate that about this curriculum. I found that helps a 5-year-old who attention span is lower than ours. Obviously, they're 5. It helps them to feel confidence and mastery without having to focus on something for a long period of time, and it helps build their understanding. So leading me to the next point that I like about this curriculum is that it has a heavy conceptual understanding built in. So what I mean by that is it's not just saying this is the number 1 and showing them a straight line of how to write the number 1. It also is having them go around the house and point out things that are one thing in their house. It's having them circle groups of 1. Obviously, it's easier once you get into number 2 or 3. But I'm just using this as an example that it builds on the concept behind the math and not just the digits we read and write, but it builds on conceptual understanding. Again, let's use subtraction, which is more complex than just identifying numbers. This curriculum uses a 10 frame throughout, so your child gets really comfortable with the concept of base 10, which is going to take them through forever in their math learning. And so they start to look at the 10 frame and notice that if it's filled up, it's always 10. If it's halfway there, it's 5. They use the 10 frame to add, subtract, identify numbers, find pairs that match up to 10. And so they're continuously building the concept behind what the numbers mean versus just the numbers. They do so with the 10 frame or with toys or stuffed animals. What makes it fun for them and more tactical versus just writing and looking at a piece of paper. The other thing, and I started to allude to this with the fact that we're bringing stuffed animals and toys, there's a lot of games in this curriculum. And being the parent of a pretty competitive child, this works for our benefit most of the time. And sometimes it works to our detriment when he loses the game. The fact that there's so many games and it's like just playing really helps because he gets to just learn the math through a game like identifying numbers through 20. We played this as a warm up. We did the memory game where, you lay everything, all the cards upside down, and you have to flip it over, say the number, and try to find its match. And so just practice with numbers in that way. There's a go fish type game to make pairs of 10. So that was really exciting. And he can easily say 6 plus 4 is 10 without any thought as of now, which some of the conceptual stuff has to turn into like route memory. And so he's at that point. So I do like that about it too, is that there's game base. And then the last thing I'll say right now, unless something else comes to mind, is that I appreciate the workbook practice. It's literally 1 page per day, which is super manageable. I feel like the entire curriculum is manageable in that if you do a lesson a day, it has 4 lessons per week. So if you miss a day, or if you have co-op or something like that, you still can get it in. And the lessons are 15, 20 minutes max. So there's definitely mastery. At least my son has seen mastery because there's so much spiraling. Every day starts with a warm-up, and the warm-up is something they've learned before. It could be one of the games they've played before. You play that for a couple rounds. It could be, stand up and give your child directions to a mystery item in your house so they're practicing right and left. Different activities, different things they've done before. So it's spiraling and reminding them not to forget the information they've already learned. The workbooks are similar in that most workbook pages start with tracing at the top where they're tracing numbers, which I love because handwriting practice, it helps them to identify the numbers. Something I took from Teach Your Child to Read in 100 Easy Lessons, which I'll do an episode on that too soon, is when he writes the numbers, I required him to say it out loud so that it was just further helping him remember, like, this symbol is 3, this symbol or number is 4, is 15, is 18. So that has helped him to easily identify the numbers too. I don't even have to tell him now. Every time he's tracing, he just starts saying the number as he traces it. That was helpful. And I like that about the workbooks. The workbook pages typically, depending on what the topic is, anywhere from like 1 thing to do to maybe like 4 to 6 max. So like 6 subtraction problems, what we've been doing lately. If it's identify a number, it'll be like circle the groups with 6, and there'll be 3 or 4 different practice right there. So it's pretty manageable and feasible for a 5-year-old to do. So those are the pieces that really stood out to me about Math with Confidence this year, and the reason why it's the one curriculum that I'm for sure taking into next year as we go into 1st grade. What I think I'm going to do is add in Beast Academy as a supplement for math, because I do think the one thing I wonder about Math with Confidence is if it could be a little more rigorous. To be honest, its name gives away that the point is to build the child's confidence. While they're young, I think a lot of confidence comes from ease, things being easy, and them getting it and understanding it before they understand that they can build confidence by struggling through something. At least in my experience with children and with my own son, it takes some time for a child to understand that struggling is okay, and it actually is a positive thing to work through stuff because it means that you're learning from all of those struggles and challenges. I would like to explore another curriculum, so I'm going to go with Beast Academy to see if it is more rigorous. My thought is that it probably is, because I did the Beast Academy placement test, and there were things that it was asking of a kindergartner that my son did not get exposure to through Math with Confidence. So because of that, I am going to add Beast Academy during my planning I will align where we're at with math with confidence with the extension activity that Beast Academy provides. So that's my plan. I'm sticking with it because he's definitely confident in math. He also did really well on the end of year math assessment. I did a voice note a couple back about this assessment, so feel free to listen to that. He did well on the math one, so he's definitely learning from it. That's always the goal. So thanks for listening to this voice note. If you have questions about math with confidence, please let me know, and I would love to share. If you have experience with it, drop those in the comments. I am looking to learn from you as a fellow homeschooler. If you would like to be on the voice notes from the Organized Homeschool podcast, and you want to send voice notes back and forth and let those be heard by others. So what I am hoping to do is have other homeschool moms and I chat via voice notes, just like this. We'll go back and forth. And at the end of our conversation, I'll download all of those voice notes and drop them here on the podcast so that folks can listen in on our conversation. So it'll be like a private, gone public combo. I'm excited to see how this goes and what types of conversations we get to have. Let me know if you're interested. You can leave a comment here. If you're listening on Substack, feel free to DM me on Instagram at the Organized Homeschool. And I'll see you in the next voice note. Bye.